Now it's time for innovation within technology, circular and regional innovation even. We are entering the world of batteries. So far, most of the battery cell production has taken place in Asia, and that is about to change. And a new player has entered the scene with roots in Norway and bold ambitions on a Nordic level. Hege Norheim, she is Executive Vice President of FREYR, a young industry initiative founded on the idea of sustainable and circular battery production. And although she sees a lot of opportunities in setting up a gigafactory in Norway, there are some obstacles that need to be surpassed as well. I'm going to leave it to Hege to elaborate, but if you want to know more or have questions for her, don't hesitate to use Slido. We will have some time for a short discussion afterwards, right after her presentation, that is. So give it up for Hege Norheim.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth Astrid. And good afternoon. I'm the last speaker before the discussion, so stay with me for a few minutes. And it's an interesting challenge, obviously, because we've had some, big global speakers here talk about China and Europe and Shell as a global company. I represent I guess I could say a PowerPoint company as of now, but an industry that has, and a company that has global ambitions, and there's a good reason why, because we are needed. I'm going to take you back to the market perspective for batteries that we already visited the last sequence to set the scene as to why battery matters in the energy transition. We like to think, and we believe, that battery is a key enabler for the energy transition. It is a commercially available technology today that we believe will be in enormous demand. And as you can see on the slide behind me, today's production or demand, in 2020, the demand and production of batteries was 350 gigawatt hours globally. And it is mainly going into the private car passenger car sector. But as you can see, we believe that this will grow tremendously over the next 10 years and the next 20 years, to the point where we will go from 350 gigawatt hours today to about 21 terawatt hours of demand in 2040, 20 years from now. It is enormous scaling. And my point beyond the scaling is that a lot of people believe that this is mainly to decarbonize the transportation sector through passenger cars, but also other transportation vehicles and maritime sector. But what I'm showing you here, and which is less known, and I think totally vital for us to succeed at all, is that batteries is also the key enabler for us to be able to scale renewable energy into the power grids. And electrical vehicles will not be very useful and will not decarbonize anything if they are run on electricity that is based on coal fuel. So the whole premise of us succeeding in electrification is that we actually are able to grow the renewable energy into the power sector. And the renewable energy, solar and wind, as we all know, are intermittent sources of energy, and batteries and other storage solutions are absolutely key in order for us to be able to solve for that. And we believe that batteries are going to be able to solve for that, and that the demand for batteries into that sector is going to be as large as the demand for battery into the transportation sector. And this is where FREYR is going to be starting out. Our batteries will be produced in order to be delivered to solar companies and wind companies and utilities and grid companies. And I think that's an important understanding of this industry. Now, I also then want to say that we bring some spillover effects. So in addition to then being able to, we believe, being a key factor to enable 30% of the emission reductions needed in order for us to achieve the Paris Agreement, we will create around 10 million jobs in the full value chain globally through this scaling. We will create a lot of value, $150 billion is estimated here in terms of value creation, and we will be able to also help support access to energy for 600 million people who today do not have access to electricity. Now, the thing is that most batteries today, as was said by Ruth Astrid, is produced in Asia today, 95%. This is a projection of producers going forward. And as you will see, we still project that a lot will be happening in China and Asia. But this is where we are taking, we want to join and be part of this industry and move production to Europe and the US, North America. And the thing is that in a car, to take that example, the battery is about 70% of the value, or the cost, if you like, of an electrical vehicle. Now, to produce a battery, through the whole value chain, 40% of that cost is energy. So again, if we do not assure that the battery itself and its whole supply chain is using renewable energy, we are losing an opportunity, and we are not decarbonizing as well as we should. And that's our main go-to-market proposition, that we want to produce batteries that are produced based on renewable energy itself, as well as our supply chain. And by doing so, we believe that we will be able to to offer the market batteries that are decarbonized to a point that no others are today. And this is important to us, and hence why we start in Norway. With the hydropower available and affordable and in surplus in the northern part of Norway, we are establishing 5 factories in Mo i Rana that will be producing, all of them will be producing by the end of 2026 is our plan today. And in this number, 15 kilos CO2 per kilowatt-hour battery capacity produced, which is then a substantial reduction compared to our competitors. We are also calculating, or we are including emission reductions through the supply chain that we want to establish. And this I will come back to, because this is very important, opportunity and challenge. Now, another premise for this industry to be part of the solution is that we become a part of the circular economy. So we have to establish the industry in a circular ecosystem from the start. And as a startup company, that is an option. Now, that has various parts, and obviously our own production is where we're going to start. So we are in the process now of establishing the recycling process of our waste in Mo i Rana that we will be producing. Obviously, there will be waste through the production. We will be producing batteries that don't work as well as we would like them to, that we will also recycle. So that mini, if you'd like, recycling ecosystem we will be establishing before Christmas this year. Then when we sell our batteries, and they have been working for 10, 15, 20 years. We will be looking for second life first, so that is in itself going to be an interesting industry to be established. And then, of course, eventually a full recycling ecosystem for the batteries to be established. And this is, by the way, a requirement for all batteries that will be used or sold in Europe through the battery directive that is now being established, which we, and I will come back to this, think is a super approach and framework for a company like ours to be able to compete with our Chinese competitors, because we will be we believe this is the right thing to do, and we will be establishing this from the beginning. And then eventually also then using, and we will do this also from the start, using recycled materials as part of our supply chain. However, if you looked at if we think about the slide I showed you first about this immense growth in demand for batteries, it is clearly so that the recycled part of our supply chain, of our raw materials, will need 30, 40 years to catch up, 50 years to catch up before we have the volumes needed to only be working with recycled materials. We are going to need a lot of new raw material as an industry. One of our, as mentioned, so this is trying to show you, I'm sorry if it's a bit weak in colors, we are absolutely trying to establish a supply chain that is decarbonized as well. And our main strategic approach to that, and it will be interesting to have a discussion with the panelists from the US, because she mentioned this, is to move the supply chain to the Nordics. We are aiming at co-investing with our suppliers for them to establish business in the Nordics so that they also will use renewable energy in their production, including all the way down to the mines. So So this is this is sort of our strategic approach to creating that value chain in terms of being decarbonized. But in light of a lot of the discussion here today when it comes to security of supply, clearly this also plays into the security of supply need as we see it today. Okay, and then so my last slide. Summarizing, we believe that being in the Nordics has a lot of opportunities for us. The affordable renewable energy that we believe is the way to go forward. Very strong markets in Europe, but also in the US, which is close to us. We are creating a lot of jobs, a very job-intensive industry. So per kilowatt hour that we will be asking for in Norway to use in our production, this is the industry that will create the most jobs by far. And we also see a regulatory framework growing specifically in Europe, but also more and more so in the US, that supports our approach of being a sustainable green battery producer. Challenges: as a newcomer to the industry, we still haven't produced any batteries. So clearly, having the investors and the banks and the financiers with us and the capital available that is willing to take that risk to help us establish that experience is a challenge. We see the challenge of actually being able to attract people with experience from electrochemical production, so battery competence. We are going to increase Mo i Rana as a city with 40% in terms of population. 10,000 people will be moving to Mo i Rana, which has today 26,000 people, counting in the new teachers and the new doctors and everything that will come with our employees and their families. That is a huge challenge. And as I mentioned, the ability to establish local mining and mineral industry in order to secure the decarbonized batteries in its full supply chain. That are the main challenges as I see them, and I'm happy to discuss further.